Hello, and welcome to episode 82 of the SheGulls podcast, powered by Albion Obsessed, the one and only podcast dedicated to Brighton Hove Albion women's football team. I'm your host, Duncan, and I am joined today by fellow Albion fans, Ben. Hello, Ben.
Hello, Duncan.
By Abby. Hello, Abby.
Hello, Duncan.
And, of course, by Claire. Hello, Claire.
Hello, Duncan.
And we are, as always, joined backstage by producer Joe, pressing all the right buttons in all the right places. Yes, we are back once more with our weekly podcast. We have had many pieces of information, bits of news and things that we will relay to you. But we all discussed and agreed, I think the right thing to do is to open the show by sending our thoughts to our head coach, Dario Vidicic. He's obviously had some family issues that he needs to step away and take care of, and that has to be everyone's number one priority. I know that's what we always say, even on the podcast. So, when you're involved in football, all the more the case, really. So sending our thoughts to him. Obviously, we'd love him to be back as soon as possible, but he's got things to take care of, and like I say, that has to be his number one priority. And I think we will all get behind Chris Roberts, who obviously takes charge of the team on an interim basis, and it's hopefully just keeping the seat warm for Dario to come back. So yes, I don't know if you guys want to sort of chip in a well wish, but we're all thinking of Dario as we start the podcast.
Yeah, I think. Football is a family. Women's football is a closer family, and Brighton Hove Albion is just immediate relatives. So Dario's family is our family. So all our love, all our thoughts, to them, and hopefully whatever the situation is resolves itself quickly. And obviously we want Dario back with us, but we want Dario to be be where he needs to be. Yeah, as you said.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I know that's echoed throughout the fan base. So, Dario, if you are listening, or anyone who's listening, please pass those comments along, and we can't wait to see you back as and when the time is right to do so. So I guess we can move on to slightly nicer subject, and that we had a game on Sunday, as we often do. Although I shall add, at 1 p.m, which is in a sort of a
Very weird.
Yeah,
Can't keep up.
I had to give Chris a reminder in case she forgot and turned up at 12. So that was.
I was going to say, yeah. I mean, I suppose at least that's the better way round to do it, isn't it? Because if you turn up at 2 and it was a 1 o'clock kickoff, you're in trouble. But at least if you turn up at 12 for a 1 o'clock kickoff,
exactly.
you can still watch the game. So we were, of course, victorious, as many of you will know, by 2-0. First goal towards the end of the first half, and the second goal actually towards the end of the second half. So, put a little point on each half for us. But we didn't have it all our own way, and that's what we'll be discussing, as well as the wider FA Cup ramifications, and of course the draw, which happened, I think, yesterday. So yes, we will be covering that as well. Who shall I start with? I think I will start with Claire this week.
Hello.
Why not? I'll surprise you, Claire. Hopefully you're ready. What did you make of Sunday? What did you make of our performance against Nottingham Forest, and even so far as what did you think of Nottingham Forest themselves?
Yeah, I mean, it was an enjoyable game, really. I suppose because we won it, that makes it a little bit more enjoyable than maybe it might have been. Nottingham Forest, I thought, were pretty good, pretty organised defensively, etc. I think they just looked a bit like us. They had nothing up front. And, I think that was our problem. It was very evident we don't have somebody who's going to bang the goal in if we don't get a corner or a penalty or a free kick or something. It just seems there's a lot of running around with not much going on once it gets to the final third. Everyone stop and pass it to someone else, like you have it, no, you do it, no, I don't want it, no, you have it. They didn't seem to want to take a chance themselves and have a shot a lot of the time. So frustrating a lot, but we got the win. And right now, I think the way things are for us, just getting a win is all that's important. I don't care how they come. I don't care how scruffy they are. I don't care if we win 1-0, 12-0. I just want the win. And we got it. So, confidence builder. Very, like you said earlier with Dario, the news about him broke on the Saturday. So right before it. And I think we spoke to Zoe, me and Ben, and she said that Dario spoke to the team on Saturday before he left. So I think it was quite an emotional time for everybody. And so that's another added factor to take into what's going on in the players' minds while they're playing, So, I don't have any complaints. I enjoyed the game. We got the win. All good.
Yeah, especially in cup games, I think in the league to a certain extent, we do we are looking for performances because we know that we're not going to finish in the top 4. We know we're almost certainly not going to finish in the bottom 4. So what you're really looking for is progression. Ultimately, progression in the FA Cup is just winning the tie. It doesn't really matter whether you do it sort of in a glamorous fashion or not. If you win all your ties, you win the cup. And I think
the only person anyone remembers is the winner of that year.
Exactly.
No one's going to know who won what game in round 4.
Yeah.
So just get through them.
Very good point. Very good point. Ben, how about you? How did you feel the game went overall?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much as expected, really. I think we expected them to come and be organised and be sort of tough to break down, and they kind of were. Especially with our sort of slightly toothless attack at the moment. I mean, it's funny, wasn't it? It's quite nice. We actually sat next to each other, didn't we? Which is quite an unusual thing. Normally, it's different parts of the stand. And we were sort of, that's a good start, wasn't it? Because I think there was a cross, and Neddy Nordam tried one of those little flicks as it goes through the legs kind of thing, and it didn't quite come off, and then it was recycled, and was it Rosa, I think, had a shot, and that was all inside like the first minute, and it was like, whoa, this is pretty good. But then we didn't have another shot for at least 20 minutes, and in that time, actually, they probably came the closest that they came to scoring was they had a corner that sort of through a crowd of players, Cheer got a punch on but didn't get purchase, and it sort of landed on Georgia Braum's head, and luckily it was so quick she didn't really get time to react, and it just bobbled wide. But otherwise they didn't really trouble us that much. I don't think. It was just a matter of getting that goal, which we eventually did. Felt sorry for Emily Batty. I mean, she stuck out a leg, and Kiko sort of gratefully fell over it, really. And then, I'm very glad that Maddie took the penalty. Really coolly done, especially after sort of not converting that one against London City. And then, the second half, like the Charlton game in the League Cup, we went down the end and stood behind the goal, didn't we? And that was again. It is most of the action was up our end, so it was good in that respect. But again, it was just good fun and stuff, and you get right close to the action as well. And obviously, I made a fantastic save from a shot from Maddie Haley, which I'm quite annoyed that they've only put out like a couple of minutes of highlights, and that's not in it. And that was one of the best shots of the game. So I don't know.
Yeah, if the full game was available, you'd be able to see it, folks. Yeah, we'd have clipped it off and to show it to you.
But yeah, I mean, job done, tick in the box. As Claire said, it's out of the way. We beat them. While it was 0-0, it was a bit, and then when it's 1-0, you still can't relax because they might equalise. But I was going to say, once we got the second goal, we could relax, but that was the 93rd minute.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We could relax for those last few minutes of stoppage time. Just good. I suppose there are a couple of things. I mean, Amy Claypole got stretchered off, which was a bit worrying to see. I mean, every time a player goes down and doesn't get up, you're sort of nervous. But I think, it looked, couldn't see very well, but she was sort of below us as she went off of the stretcher, and it looked like it was her ankle that was strapped up rather than a knee, which obviously isn't great. but it's not as bad as the thing that must not be named that a lot of people just automatically assume it was. But yeah, I mean, just good fun.
Absolutely. Abby, do you have anything to add on the performance? Anything you noticed in particular, or?
I think they were quite defensive, so there wasn't really much for us to work with, particularly as we don't have a striker. We've got plenty of forwards, but we don't have a striker. And I think that is, making us look somewhat toothless, as you say. There were some nice moments, but yeah, it just echo what you say. They just don't seem to want to, to quote Mother, have a go. It's, oh, you might be better for this one. You have a try. And then that person gets it and they look and they're like, well, oh, no, you have it. And it's just like passing it around. And that's lovely. And we had a lot of possession and it was very pretty, but just wallop the blasted thing, and try and get it in, because that's just the sort of game that I worry that we are going to have all the possession and then they're going to get within 5, meters of our goal and just go wallop and, in it goes, and suddenly we're 1-0 down. So like I'm very glad. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm very glad that didn't happen. Excuse me. We went. We had a lovely time. We won 2-0. Great. I'm quite disappointed that we didn't get to see our new signing. I was fairly sure that she was going to come on in the second half. But we didn't see her. Now, if we'd have gone 2-0 up earlier, maybe we would have done. I don't know. I mean, I'm still not sure if I'm going to go on Friday to Everton, but if I go all the way to, the north of the country, and she doesn't play, I shall be very annoyed because I'm ready to see what we've got. She's their only signing, and I'm ready to see it. But massive positive was seeing Yelly back on the pitch, and. I think she made a massive difference when she came on, and she scored. So brilliant. But we're moving forward. We're still in the cup. Lovely. That's kind of it, really.
Yeah, I think that has to be the sort of takeaway. I think there were sort of small things that I think, to be honest with you, it can be quite valuable to sort of go down and get that other view of the pitch rather than the side on, because. To what you were saying about, the kind of just hit it type thing, there were opportunities where you, as a fan, could see there was an opportunity to hit it. There's other times where I could hear the fans in the West Stands shouting shoot. And I thought, if she shoots, it's just going to hit it straight into the player. Like there's no gap there to go through. So I think it can be quite useful almost sometimes to get that alternative perspective to go, like they can't always shoot. But I think it's like a sign of almost like Fran frustration. I was going to say, well, she wasn't even. She was there, but not playing. Fan frustration that you don't ever shoot is that then it becomes, well, you have to shoot every time. So it's kind of like what you're actually after is a happy medium where they're not just taking shots because they think it may sort of go in or whatever from 30 yards through a crowd of 8 defenders. Versus other times where you think, I can see the ball, I can see the goal, there's no one in between. Why are we not hitting it towards the goal? So I must admit, I found that quite useful. And I think a couple of other points I'll bring up, and then you guys can come in if you notice them, or maybe I'm talking absolute nonsense. I felt like with Kiko, she was having quite a lot of joy down the sort of what would have been the right hand side, I guess, as people sort of look at it. She was getting the ball a lot and she was finding space, but almost every ball or cross or pass she hit the first player. And I thought that didn't help us. But also I sort of thought, well, even if it does go into the box, have we really got like
no one there?
I mean, Maddie is good in the air, don't get me wrong, but against sort of 2 or 3 sort of tall, probably same height as her defenders, if not a bit taller, that's a big ask. Like, if we're going to be the team who's going to be whipping it into the box all the time, then we need to be looking at a different profile of striker really to Maddie, and then maybe Maddie goes a bit deeper. Equally, if you bring Kiko inside and she becomes the striker, you're probably not going to get as many crosses.
Yeah.
So, you know, it sort of swings and roundabouts. And I did think when Carla came on, obviously Ben was next to me, so I was doing a lot of pointing and things like, you know, as I tend to do. But, you know, there were a few times where she stayed central and was causing problems centrally, like the defenders weren't picking her up or she was getting into space, but they couldn't get the ball to her. And there were other times where she was almost going more towards the ball. In fact, I think there's one instance in particular. She got the ball, but she was out wide. She put a ball almost across the sort of face of the box. There was no one there to kick it in.
Yeah, crossing it to herself.
Yeah, exactly. She quote unquote should have been the player that was there. But the thing is, she had to go hunting to create that chance in the first place. So that's where you need someone else to go, oh, okay, right. She stepped out of that position.
Yeah.
To try and get on the ball and try and do something. Oh, fantastic. She's done something. Right. Well, I need to be in the right place. And I think that was the difficulty almost, was that, you know, whenever she was in space and playing as a striker, they couldn't get it to her. And whenever she got the ball and was able to create a bit of space, there was no one else there to pass to because she was essentially the only one up there. So I don't know. I mean, I don't think it can all boil down to the fact that we don't have a striker, because we did score a couple of goals, and, you know, Yellow made a nuisance of herself in the box, and I think it was just pure instinct. Was she was just quicker to react to the ball than anyone else. So that was a really good goal, and I think, you know, perhaps if she was able to play from the start, we would have fashioned a few more chances. I feel like, you know, we may have been a little bit more incisive. Maybe not.
Yeah, I think the biggest issue we have, other than not having that number 9, is we just don't have experience. And Yelly has that experience, and she knows when that ball comes in that she's going to have an opportunity for a header, and she went for it. Whereas I don't feel like some of the other players read the game the same way because they've not experienced it enough yet. Do you know what I mean? And I think Carla's very much on the younger end of experience. She's learning. This is where she'll pick up stuff, but like you say, she's getting frustrated because the ball isn't being played into her. She's having to go and get it herself, and then has nowhere to go with it. Like you say,
exactly.
So, and the fact that the others aren't experienced enough as a number 9, aren't thinking, oh, hang on, our number 9's gone out wide to get the ball. I need to fill in for her now. I need to take that space up. They're not, and so she passes the ball in, and there's no one there. And I think that's the problem. We need experience as well as a striker. To be on the pitch, to be like pushing people up and saying, you go there, move there, get into position. When that one moves out, you get in. And I think that's where we're lacking it a little bit. It's just it's just not gelling.
I think it, I mean, you know, I'm sort of chairman of the Carla Camacho fan club, so I think it really we did start to look a lot sharper when she came on for that last sort of 20 minutes or so. We did look a lot more threatening. But as you say, this, I mean, it is. I mean, I want to see her start getting more minutes, because I think it's very difficult to come into a game and 20 minutes to go and actually make too much of a difference. That's funny, as you said about Yelly's goal and sort of being first to react to that sort of loose ball drifting around in the box. That just before that happened, because Emily Batty had a really good game, I thought, the Forest goalkeeper, but she's one of those keepers that's not the tallest. And we were actually joking almost just before that happened that Yelly was probably the only player on the pitch that she was taller than. And the smallest player on the pitch gets first and gets the headed goal. That's great. I mean, I think, obviously they have to be a little bit careful because she's been out for a few weeks. Well, since before Christmas, hasn't she? So they couldn't just chuck her in for 90 minutes, especially in a game that ought to be on the easier side.
Yeah, and there could have been extra time as well. So I mean,
you said that, didn't you? Actually, the game you said that. But yeah, I think it was great. I mean, it's funny actually. We often criticise the referees and things. I think Stacey Pearson was the ref, and I think broadly she had a very good game. She's obviously most famous for booking Rach McLaughlin for not using the ball on the cone. Only one booking actually. Rosa got booked fairly early on.
Rosa got booked for a little bit.
But interestingly enough, when Emily Batty brought Kiko down to the box, it was one of those sort of seemed like an age before she actually blew the whistle and pointed at the spot. And I think, again, because this is one thing we always criticise her for, I think she actually consulted the lino, because the lino was obviously on that side. It was the far corner from us on our right wing. So the lino was not right next to it, but quite close to it. It had a sort of different angle for it. And I think, because obviously they're mic'd up, she just said, was there contact? Would you think that was a foul? Because I do. And they agreed, and then she gave the penalty, which is really quite unusual to see. So yeah, I mean, props to the officiating team for that, I think.
Well, and ended up making the right decision, which sort of vindicates doing that in the first place. I mean, it was one of those ones where I think, was Kiko hoping there was going to be a bit of contact?
Well,
I think that's
the leg is
the
offered,
game,
and
right?
Kiko gratefully falls over it. That's the thing. I mean,
Exactly.
That is experience as well, isn't it? If she's going to come out and dive at my feet, I'm going to make sure she takes me out. And I'm going to either get a corner or I'm getting a penalty. Either way.
Because I think, and I've only seen it once or twice since, so I could be wrong. Doesn't Kiko very slightly move the ball away from the keeper just before the keeper?
Yeah, she's kind of going down the right side towards the byline, really. Yeah,
but to kind of make sure, I guess, that the keeper couldn't just get a little touch on it, in which case they could say, "Oh, she got the ball" or whatever. She kind of was quite clever and took the ball slightly to the right-hand side so that the keeper had no chance. He was just going to be in Kiko's way, essentially. No chance of getting the ball, and then you get the penalty. And I thought there was a great point about Maddie taking it. I think if you really want her to be your sort of penalty taker going forward, then you have to get straight back on the horse. If it was at the time, it was sort of speculated that maybe it was another player, because I think when she took it was Fran. I don't think Fran started that LCL game.
No, she wasn't on the pitch at the time.
So I think people were sort of saying, "Oh, well, if it's going to be Fran in the future, then you just kind of go, oh well, one and done. It didn't work out, whatever." But if you're effectively saying, "Well, Maddie's going to be on the pitch a lot more than Fran, and she's going to be our penalty taker," like I say, the kind of getting back on the horse ASAP is definitely the right way to go about it. So yeah,
I think you always have to have two of everything, don't you? Anyway, because like you say, you never know when Fran isn't going to play or is injured or comes off she might get substituted off, and then you get a penalty. You've got to have somebody who has the confidence to go, "I'll do it." So yeah, fair play to Maddie for stepping up.
Absolutely. We're getting some comments in the chat, in the live chat about Deanne Rose. Paying her some compliments.
Very good.
Yeah,
I agree with them 100%. I thought she was brilliant.
I think
she
was the experienced player in their team.
She's historically caused us quite a lot of problems, I think. I mean, even way back when I remember, like, one of my 4 or 5 years ago when she was at Reading, she was she was the class in their team that wasn't very classy. And then at Leicester as well, I think she didn't really quite fit at Leicester. Hang on, Leicester, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Leicester.
But still, still was very, very dangerous there. And I think she had a great game. Although she had an enormous, great big hair thing. I don't quite know how she managed to carry that around. She must have a really sore neck this morning.
It did seem to be sort of weighing her down a little bit, but
I mean, they did. There's a few sort of. I mean, Amy Claypole. For a neutral, it would have been nice to see more from Amy Claypole. So hopefully. I haven't heard anything.
I tried Googling earlier, but there was nothing.
Hopefully no news is good
news about it. So.
But it might have been nice from a neutral's perspective to see a bit more of her. But I think we dealt with Chantal Boyk-Lorca quite well. I was expecting. I thought she would have caused us more trouble. I think an interesting 33-on-33 battle, which is between her and Charlie. It's seems to be quite a popular number now, but that was. I think Charlie got the better of her for the most part. So
I think the thing about Rose, I think that she's always had is she's fast. And I think there are a few players. It almost sort of slightly reminds me of like a sort of Tony Payne at Everton, where if you're kind of one thing a lot more than the other, then you can only kind of get so far, because ultimately, like, the top teams, you can be fast, but if you're fast but you only score like 2 goals a season, then they soon get tired of you being fast and move on. And I think that was always her problem, was that you know, she was always a bit of a handful for a lot of teams, especially, you know, outside of the top four. She's very experienced. She's not actually as old as probably people might think as well, because she's been in the WSL so long. But I think you could probably see a little bit of that element of why she's not at a WSL club, because there were a few times where there wasn't quite that end product.
Yeah.
You know, and that's, you know, why you end up at sort of lower WSL clubs, or in this case, a WSL 2 club with ambitions to be in the WSL. You know, for Nottingham Forest, that would, you know, she's one of their star players, and I think rightfully so. You know, very well respected around the league and stuff. So, yeah, it was good to see her. Like you say, Claypole.
There was one time when Maddie got the better of her.
Yeah, well, you know, I mean,
and I said, I hope that's not some sort of USA versus Canada thing going on there.
Yeah, hopefully not. No, a friendly rivalry. Yeah, as I say, Claypole, it was a shame not to see more of her, because I didn't think she stood out particularly in what we did see. So, you know, she was okay, but I wouldn't say, you know, it wasn't like she came on the pitch and you thought, oh wow, there's, you know, a star in the making sort of thing. So it would have been nice, I think, from a scouting perspective. You know, we're always looking for good English players, especially, you know, future Lionesses and stuff. You know, we all obviously hope that her injury is not as serious as it seemed. Obviously, you know, like you say, thank goodness it doesn't seem to be the dreaded 3 letters or anything like that. It seemed to be a lower limb injury. But having said that, you know, if it's a broken ankle or something, then it's probably a similar recovery time.
Yeah, it's not great, but well, I don't know. I think, you know, you're looking at, I mean, if it is that thing, then you're looking at a year. So I mean, very few injuries are as long as that.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, wish her all the best, and, you know, hopefully she is able to come back, you know, perhaps later this season or whatever, and you know, show how you know, maybe it was wrong of Chelsea to let her go. And then, you know, I'm sure, like I say, all clubs, especially, you know, outside of the top 4 at this stage, are all looking for very good young English players, in particular if they're up front. So you know, if she can come and prove her quality and stuff like that, then I'm sure she'll be back up in the WSL with either Forest or another club quite quickly. I hope I'm not going to tell tales out of school here, but Claire, I think you managed to gain some information prior to the game.
I did have a little
we
chat.
had a little chat, and
it was me, Ben, and Tim, and I think Keith was around as well. But yeah, we managed to catch Zoe before she went in, and we just asked, you know, how's things going basically on the striker front, and I'm sure she won't mind. She didn't tell us anything that I don't think we would already assume anyway.
Yeah.
But
I don't think she'd tell us anything.
No, exactly. There was no big reveal. You're not going to get. I'm not going to come out with a big name now. But no, she said basically, you know, the club is looking. The club is doing everything it can. They know they need a number 9. They know they need, you know, a few players in or whatever. They're looking, but unfortunately, it's that time of the year where everybody wants a number 9. All the number 9s that they have been looking at have, you know, decided to go elsewhere. And so, you know, it's like months and months of chatting somebody up and trying to get them to come to our club, gets kind of chucked out the window at the last minute because a top 4 team comes in and says, oh,
yeah, she sort of said, didn't she?
Yeah.
They put a lot of work in, and then suddenly, I think she said Man City and Man United come along. Yeah. So I don't know if maybe she was specifically referring to like Ellen Vangerheim or something.
Yeah, I mean, but whichever one it is, you know, it's clear that the work is going on behind the scenes, but unfortunately, it's just not happening for them at the moment, and it won't be for want of trying if we don't get somebody in. And then I think it was Tim shouted something comical about Fran leaving, just as Zoe was walking away, and she kind of just turned around and was just like, she's not going. And that was the end of that. So yeah, it's very nice. I love those little chats. So he's very friendly. She's really easy to chat to, and just, you know, you can kind of get a little bit of not information, but it's just that thing of knowing. Sometimes I think because the club keeps everything so close to its chest and you don't get any rumours and there's no noise coming out from the club, it's nice to sort of at least know that yes, they are looking. We're not just, it's not a case of we're just being ignored and we just got to, you know, lump it. They are doing what they can. Obviously we have the budget we have and we don't have a Michelle Kang sitting there chucking £1 million out on every player that's become available. So, you know, so yeah, fingers crossed. Somebody is coming in, but who it will be, we do not know.
Yeah, like you say, it's nice to get like a little bit of feedback. I'd say almost. It's not even so much like news, is it? Because it's not like we can't really say anything. But equally, you know, we can't really expect them to put out like a press release saying we are looking for players.
Yeah,
like, you know,
it's a little confirmation, isn't it? It's a little confirmation from someone high up at the club.
Albion Obsessed by Man United.
Yeah, we're in the same place you are. We know what we need. We're not stupid. We're not blind. We're not ignoring it. But equally, it's not that simple. So you know,
Which I think
she just said, I mean, she's been listening to this podcast, but she said what I said, that they're looking for this number 9 and there ain't many there.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Yeah. So it's difficult.
There's not many available. I mean, obviously in the summer that will be a bit different, but we really do need something somewhere now, don't we? And that's the difficulty we're having is that, you know, because as well, like she was saying, everybody knows we need someone. They know that we've lost Michelle. We're struggling to score. They all know we want a number 9, so they're all putting an extra 0 on their figures, aren't they? Basically saying if you want ours, you've got to pay for it. So it's whether Mr. Bloom wants to put his hand in his pocket and pay out for someone. That's the decision, I suppose, for the club.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to weirdly relate this to like buying like a TV or something. So bear with me when I'm talking about this.
This could get interesting, folks.
This metaphor.
If you're going to spend sort of like £500 and you're buying like, I don't know, a 42-inch, and then someone says, "Oh yeah, but for £600 there's a 55-inch," you sort of think, well, if I'm going to pay 500 for that, I might as well pay the extra 100 and get a way better one. So I wonder if there might be like an element of that. Is all these clubs who, you know, we're speculating, oh, you know, they might have a striker spare or whatever. They're saying, you know, X player, you know, Brighton are saying, oh, we'll give you price X. The club are saying, no, we want price Y. And Brighton are thinking, well, actually, if we're going to go that high, we might be better just either waiting or trying to get someone better, because why are we going to pay 400,000? I'm completely speculation. £400,000 on a player who's never played in the WSL, blah blah blah. When actually, if we spent 500, we could get a player who's scored 10 goals a season in the WSL the last 3 or 4 years.
And this is the thing as well. When you're looking at clubs like Aston Villa spending 450,000 on, I think
Jean-Francois.
Yeah, Francois. You look at that and you're like, okay, that's just ramped up everybody else's prices, you know. And then Michelle Kang comes in and has bought Cascarino for whatever price that's gone in at, and you're like, okay, so now everybody else is looking around and going, well, that's the going rate now. That's the going rate for a striker and for a decent midfielder. So what are you paying? You know?
Yeah, exactly. Like you say, it sets a precedent, and then everyone kind of goes, well, if she's worth so and so, then our one's worth.
Our one's now worth 250,000. Whereas there might have been like 100,000 last week, but now you're doubling your price because that. And because we saw it in the men's game, didn't we? When once the £1 million signing went in for the first ever one, that was it. They just was chucking money. Money went all mad for months and years, and it's crazy prices now. And I think it's the difficulty with women's football, because women's football isn't earning what men's football does. So when the men's game went for the first £1 million player, they were earning that sort of money as clubs, whereas most women's teams are not. So if you've got a club like Aston Villa or LCL who have managed to get somebody in charge who's got a bit of dosh and is willing to pay it out, that's probably coming out of their pocket rather than from the club's earnings. It's a loan to the club or it's a gift to the club. Everybody else doesn't have that, and that's frustrating. And I think the frustrating thing for us at Brighton is that we know that Tony has done that for the men's side. So why isn't he doing it for the women's?
Mm-hmm.
That's the bit that I'm just like, are we one club or not? You know, you've got to treat the women's team the way you treat the men's or not.
I think that's a general frustration some of us have around the club, is that it doesn't seem to be quite equitable on the sides. But, you know, every podcast that I've been listening to over the last couple of days about all of this is saying exactly the same thing, that every club needs these players and there's that many. I think there was one podcast today just saying we don't need to look to Scandinavia anymore. There's nobody left. They're all here.
They're all at Spurs.
Not far wrong. They're not far wrong.
They're all at Spurs and Man United now.
And like we were saying last week, is if you go to somebody in the Scandinavian leagues and say, you know, well, there's Manchester United or there's Brighton and Hove Albion.
Yeah.
That player's heard of Manchester United. You would like to think that they have heard of us, but it's all of that nostalgia that goes with it. So it is, you know, an uphill ask. It's just nice to know that they are looking. Because Brighton's quite, you know, everything's closed in and there's no rumours and there's nothing coming out. It's very easy for us to imagine that they're just sat there with their feet up, twiddling their thumbs, doing nothing, thinking we'll wait until the summer. So it is nice to know that you know,
just
they are looking.
Confirmation that the cogs are turning and we're not sort of living in vain hope. We're living in hope, but it's not in vain.
It's
you
a
know,
big hope. It's a big hope, but there is potential for an outcome if there's one available. That's the thing.
Yeah.
On the subject of Fran, I mean, all the entire squad was there, as they pretty much always are for home games. So it was really good to see Fran there, sort of, you know, in the prawn sandwich seats. Well, I mean the substitute seats, I suppose, rather than prawn sandwich. But so she came on to support them. I'm assuming she wasn't in the squad because it's a cup game and she's being rested, and we had to take them seriously, but it shouldn't be that tough. So we could afford to do without her, because I think obviously the galleries and stuff they've been putting out, she has been training and things as usual. And obviously because they all rounded the pitch afterwards and did a massive sort of squad group photo holding up a shirt with Vidicic and one written on it, which is rather nice of them. I think, I mean, it, you know, although having said that, you know, Broadfield's not far from Gatwick, and there's a lot of flights to Turin. You know, so
it's a nice place to go for dinner.
Yeah.
I was joking that if that was me, I'd have been sat in the seats with an Italian phrase book. Just to wind everybody up.
I mean, that would be quite humorous, wouldn't it? If she turned up in a Juve shirt and just sat and watched the game.
I must admit that I think possibly the first time Dario might have got asked about it was that press conference last week, and I think I feel like I've got quite good at reading Dario's sort of cues, and I said to you guys, he said when he asked about whether you know, Fran might be leaving or whatever, he said no, but he said it in such a way that it wasn't like, oh, ha ha ha, you know, oh, you know, you never know sort of thing, but we don't want to lose her. It was like, no, and that's a silly question.
And that's stupid.
And that's exactly that was how I read it.
Exactly how Zoe was. Zoe she was walking away, and I'm sure it was Tim that shouted it, and then she just turned around and she just went, she's not going. And that was it was real, like that. She's not going. Yeah,
absolutely. So that's some good news on that front.
Yes.
So we just need a good news in the transfer window itself. A couple more signings would be nice. But I think we would all probably be okay if we were only able to get someone on loan, as long as it was someone that could sort of offer something to the squad. You know, whether it be goals or experience or, you know, whatever obviously goals would be the primary concern, but, you know, we may end up with not the ideal person we would all want, or maybe not the big name we would all want, because we have to wait till the summer when there's a bit more of a market for it. But yeah, I something will happen. I think it's just how big and how much and all that sort of thing. I think it's obviously to be determined. So
if nothing else, we just need to strengthen what we've got so that we have got options and we're not running the players that we do have into the ground. And that we're not sat there going, right, actually we've got nobody else. So Caitlin, would you mind going and playing at the front?
Exactly.
And things like that.
Just play Caitlin up front.
Yeah.
Just to say she's going to be our number 9 for the rest of the season. At least we know that that's what she's doing, and she can get on with being that player. But I think, it'll be really nice to finally see our new signing come on and see what she can do, because it may well be just a case of, it just needs that one player to unlock the front 3 that we've got.
Yeah.
And to be the one that, can pass through and see a pass that nobody else is seeing. That might just be what we need. I would also like to say if the option to send OJ and other players out on loan to sit on benches or sit on our bench, I'd rather they stayed and sat on our bench.
Yeah.
For the rest of this season, just simply because that is an attacking option. And we don't need to add her to the squad as such.
That's right. Yeah,
we can just have her on our bench.
Or we might need to.
Yeah.
We might need to, but
because we're short of English players.
But it's that thing of what is the point of them going and sitting on Bristol City's bench doing nothing?
Yeah.
They might as well be on our bench, learning something from our players, and at least training with our squad, so that if they are needed to come on, they don't look like kids with they're running around like headless chickens because they're just like, I don't know what to do. I don't know where every player is supposed to be, etc. So, I want to see them if they're gonna be just chucked out on loan to sit on a bench somewhere, then just keep them for the rest of the season. We look at that next year. Yeah.
So on the subject of the bench, actually, obviously, Chiana Dozie was in goal, and Hannah Poulter was the substitute goalkeeper. Again, Baggers was eating prawn sandwiches with Fran. So I can only assume that's because normally Baggers would be the cup goalkeeper because Chia's WSL, but Baggers has played the last couple of WSLs, and so Chia needs a game. But also Chia's going to be going out to the WAFCON tournament in a month or so.
Yeah.
So whatever. So I'm hoping and assuming that Baggers is needed or anything, because we had enough substitutes that we didn't need to sort of stuff the bench with too many goalkeepers, because you only need one goalkeeper on the bench, touch wood. But also, Ola didn't get used, but also, there were 3 from the academy, Emily Gay as usual, Taylor Warren as usual, neither of them came on, but how good was it to see Grace McEwen with her boots on? Because I just checked her Instagram, I'm not sure the exact date, she posted on the 5th of February last year, so it would have been a couple of days before that she did her ACL. So that's less than a year. So that's really good to come back in it, because I think she did have a bit of a setback in the middle there as well. So, some players can take more than a year. So she's done it in 11 and a half months. So that's really good. It's great to see Grace on the pitch. I think she's played a few games with the under-19s, but really, really good to see her back in the squad. That's nice.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, another good prospect of ours that we kind of need to not make it sound like a used car, but we need to kick the tires on her a little bit before, because a few of those we're going to have to make decisions on in the next year or two. You keep them and they take up a squad space, or you say thanks, but off you go and try and forge your career, somewhere else. And there were a good few from the academy, I think, last year that got released who were like, to us, they were like, played quite regularly in the academy and stuff, but it was obviously just getting to the point where they just didn't see them progressing into the first team squad, come what may almost. So it's better to kind of let them go and forge their own career somewhere else. And you never know, you might be a reunion down the road if they do well. So
I think that's the problem with all academies, isn't it? For every club,
of course,
is you've got 30-40 young kids there who are all probably reasonably good footballers.
Well, very good.
Are they good enough at that age to be better than what you've already got in your squad? And when you are in the top league and you are attempting to go for winning things or getting further up the league, etc., can you risk giving up a squad space for a youngster when you could go out and buy an experienced player, blah, blah, blah. And a lot of the times the youngsters will miss out. And I think it's a difficulty, but it's like, I think Manchester United had one at the weekend, 16-year-old kid comes on, scores a goal. She took her opportunity. And that's what these kids have got to do now. They cannot afford to have more than a couple of seasons just being bench players and being in and around the squad. They've got to, when they get the opportunity to come on, they've got to take it and really show what they can do and force their way into the manager's thinking, because otherwise they will just get farmed out the next year, out on loan, see you later.
Yeah, and I think the only alternative to that is to do what's happened with Jess Pegram, which is you go somewhere on loan, but you play so well that the club go, okay, yeah, we can see you getting in the team because you've done X, Y, and Z. Of course, she's on loan to Rangers, and the Scottish League is very top heavy. It's sort of half and half. It's sort of half teams that are teams who are in and around the being able to win it, and the other half is like really, I'm not even sure it's fully professional, but they get beat virtually week in, week out by everyone except the other lower clubs. So it's quite, there can be quite a difference. But to me, she's played so well for them that Brighton could certainly, in my opinion, have her as like their sort of fifth centre back or something.
Absolutely, and that's my point.
That would be fine. Yeah,
that's my point. She's gone out on loan to a club that has played her. And she has taken that opportunity and said, "If you don't bring me back next season, I'm good enough to go anywhere I want to." Really,
I'm sure.
And
Rangers,
so, like you say, we've upgraded our whole defence. We've got a good, back three and a goalie there now. To have Jess Pegram come in, she would get game time because she's good enough to play in that back three at the moment. Maybe not on an everyday occurrence, but to slot in for, an injury or something, you would say, yeah, she's good enough. She's proving it. But some of the other kids at the moment, they're not quite grabbing the opportunity when they get it. I don't know whether that's just because the managers are telling them not to do stuff or whatever. But I would just be like, you know what, sod it, I'm going to play my game and I'm going to do what I need to do. This career ain't going to last forever. Just go for it. Have a go. We're a club that is not scoring any goals. You get yourself a goal, you're playing next week.
I think that's obviously why they send players out on loan, and I think it's why Brighton are so quick to recall them when they don't play, because they're like we've sent you out to essentially test the water and see if you're good enough, and you're not playing. Like that's not good for anyone. That's not good for the, especially you're talking about like 17, 18, 19-year-olds. They're at a place that they're not familiar with probably a lot of players they're not familiar with not being played. Like it's just a bad situation all round. Like you say, with players that are, where that's happening, you'd rather have them back in our own academy, let our own coaches assess them and see whether they're ready. I think you're spot on with that. And I guess it would just be nice if there were a few more clubs that were willing to give loan players an opportunity to play week in, week out. I genuinely think with Bristol City, they probably signed OJ on with good intentions, but obviously once they got into the position where they're fighting to be promoted, they're not going to put an 18-year-old kid from Brighton on. No,
and they've also got owners they've got owners that have got some money and who are willing to splash the cash at the moment. So they're going to buy the players they need.
If they were languishing in seventh, no hope of getting promoted, then they probably would have played OJ more, and she probably would have just stayed there. But they're doing what they need to do, and that's where the loan system can fall down because they don't give a monkeys about Brighton. They're not doing Brighton any favors. So OJ ends up coming back, but I think where I can see the sort of synergy a little bit is obviously, and speaking of centre backs, I remember when, and I'm going to talk very, very briefly about the men's team, John Paul Van Heck was not getting game time for Brighton. They sent him out on loan to Blackburn, and after the first season at Blackburn, he came back, and I asked a friend of mine who was a fan of them, how good is he or how did he do or whatever, and he basically said the guy won our player of the season on loan. Like, and we absolutely love him and we're desperate to sign him. And if I remember rightly, that also happened with Ben White, to the point where Leeds fans were saying, "Oh, Brighton are a tiny club.
Yeah.
You know, like, you'll never keep him. He's Leeds through and through, you know, whatever." You know, and I think that's what Jess has done. And I think that's what Brighton would love to do with loads of their players. But obviously sometimes it's on the player, because they go train and the manager staff thinks, not ready for it yet. Or it's on the club, where the club goes, do you know what? I'd rather play our 2 18-year-olds or our 34-year-old who's going to guarantee 5 goals, rather than risking this kid who could be good, but, you know, we need guaranteed, like, you know, guaranteed goals, guaranteed performances. So it is difficult, but you just hope the best, that they all get the opportunity, and then if they've had the opportunity and they don't take it, then you can't argue with that. They've got to go somewhere else. Maybe they you know, rise like a phoenix. Maybe they sink like a stone. Some of them will go one way.
And sometimes I think it's I think sometimes you need to do that. Sometimes you could, I think, maybe be at a club too long and get a little bit too comfortable with it. And actually, for some people, they kind of like, they spark off of it being something new and something different, and that's, you know, that would be good for them. But I think, you know, I think on the whole, Brighton's pretty good at giving the youngsters a little taste of everything. You know, there's a good handful of them now, isn't it, that train regularly with the first team squad, so they are ready to go on at any time. There's quite a few of them now that they're sitting on the bench for most games now, you know, depending on what we need, whether it's Evie Milner or whether it was Tahira Heron or Eliana Martin, etc. They've all had their little spot, and it's just about now, they've just got to wait for that moment when the manager says, right, you're on, and then they just got to go for it. They've got to go for it, because they got nothing to lose at this age.
Absolutely. I'm not going to quite move on from Nottingham Forest yet. We've got a little bit of time before we close off this hour. What I did want to talk about, I'll start with Abby on this one. Obviously, we had the match. Great, fantastic. We made it through. Abby's eyeing me up as you say, "What the hell are you going to ask me?"
Our Dutch players, is it?
Experience.
We had the draw yesterday. We drew West Ham away again.
It's almost like it's fixed.
Yes. How are we feeling about this, Abby?
Yay, Dagenham. I don't like the ground, for one thing. Julie's Cafe is lovely.
Julie's Cafe,
it's worth it just for Julie's Cafe.
Yeah, hot noodles available now.
Yeah, but
good chips there.
I mean, it's not the best.
The easiest to get to.
It's not the worst. I mean, we have avoided some of the big girls. You know, I hate that saying, but it's the easiest way to say it.
Yeah.
And you know, it would have been nice to have had a smaller team that could have thumped at home, but we didn't get that. And it's nice that some of the big teams are playing each other, so they at least one of them will be out of the running. But it's West Ham, and we don't. You know, the last time we went there for a cup game, we all remember what happened. So I don't know. It's not the furthest away we could have gone. I mean, we could have gone, you know, up north again. I don't know. It's definitely winnable because we have beaten them this season, and we've beaten them quite convincingly. But they've got a new manager, and it's interesting to see how they come together under said new manager, and what they do in this window. Because they are, you know, making moves. So we shall see. But not quite as pink and fluffy as I would like to feel about it. But equally, it's not the worst it could be. But I think it's yet to be decided if the club are going to put a coach on for that. You'd like to think they would, but I don't think that's been confirmed yet. I might
I think it's
use this
TBD,
time
isn't
to look in. Or not? Has it been confirmed which day it is yet?
No, just a weekend.
No.
Yeah,
I can't see ours being.
Game, though. It's not a weekday. It's not a weekday.
It's a weekend.
Yeah. I can't see us getting ours moved from whatever the standard. I don't think Brighton West Ham will be people beating down the doors to show that on BBC One or TNT.
Man United, they'd probably move that one.
The only frustrating thing, as we found out, it was actually quite good work by some of the journalists in the women's football sort of sphere, that the deal with TNT seems to say, or does say, that if a game is being broadcast live, i.e. it's on TNT, no other games that are on simultaneously can be broadcast, and that includes streamed. Which means that... Sorry?
Thanks for that, guys.
Yeah, thanks for that. Thanks everyone. That seems like a good deal. So basically, that would mean that if, say, for example, 2 or 3 of the games are at weird times for the TV, fantastic for them. But if there's 3 or 4 kickoffs at 1 o'clock on a Sunday and ours isn't televised, then no one will be able to watch it unless you go. Which is a shame, because there probably will be a lot of people who sort of think, I've been to West Ham, I've been up there once. Some people have been up there once to the subway already. We're already going, I think, in February.
2 weeks previous.
2 weeks previous in the league. Then we got to go out there again. There would probably be quite a few people who would have said, I'd happily watch that one on the TV. But then
it's also, normally when the WSL games are Sky games, because sometimes they're on Sky, sometimes they're on YouTube and Sky, sometimes just YouTube. If it's on Sky, in the UK, you can't watch it on YouTube because it's on Sky.
Yeah.
But 24 hours later, it goes onto YouTube.
Yeah.
There's absolutely no sign of any of the games from yesterday, other than the ones, the live one is probably there to watch back on TNT, but none of the other games are on live. There's 1.5-2 minutes head of highlights for every game on there at the moment. So it's another nice one, guys. Just
another thing
they've taken a sort of a small purse of money and then just really dropped their trousers to the TV companies again.
Because it's one of those, it is such a pain in the backside to get to. I've literally my show for now. And not so much to get to, but when you get there, there's nowhere to park. It really is suburban. It properly is in the middle of where people live, and it's I've booked for the league game. I've booked parking on someone's drive. On Just Park, but it's a good 10-minute walk. But £7 to park on someone's drive, because there just isn't anywhere. Even if you parked in Sainsbury's, you can only park for a couple of hours before you get a ticket. So you start.
It is trainable, isn't it? Because it's just off the district line, but it's a long way along the district line.
From Brighton upwards, it's a bit of a journey, isn't it? People did that last year. There were several people who got the train, and then there was a couple of trains that were cancelled, and then they were kind of squeaky bum time.
Because it's Sunday again. That's the beauty of women's football being on Sundays. Because obviously people couldn't get to Aston Villa last weekend on the train because there weren't any. But I think we should beat them, shouldn't we?
I've got a nasty
I don't really count those.
We should have beaten them in the Subway Cup.
I don't count those games because they were just nonsense and rubbish and stupid. We should have absolutely hammered them, but we.
Pun intended.
For some reason, and it was just two. They really had 2 chances to score and took both of them, didn't they?
Yeah, I think if we can get somebody in to score goals, we should be better than West Ham and beat them.
So far in the transfer window, they've borrowed Estelle Cascarino from Juve. Presumably, that's because Juve was assuming they were going to get Frank Kirby, and they've just signed Ria Vos from Sporting, who's a sort of young, exciting English defender.
Yeah,
and it's really quite annoying that we. I'd like to see if she scores, she silences the crowd because she's a noise canceller. That'd be quite good. But otherwise they've not moved yet in the transfer window, so they've still got their rubbish squad. No offense, Meg Walsh. So yeah, we should beat them, shouldn't we?
Yeah, I've just got a nasty. I don't think they're as good as Aston Villa were last year when we went and played them in the FA Cup. But I find these FA Cup draws quite irritating because they're the sort of games where like we could potentially, there's a decent chance that we don't win.
Yeah,
but also it's not going to make us any money. It's not going to get any eyeballs on us. I'd much rather either play a minnow so that we, quote unquote minnow, and we get through, or we kind of play a team that's going to, at home, that's going to draw some eyeballs and some extra fans and make, all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
These are those annoying ones where like no one will really watch it, and if we get dumped out, no one will notice except us, basically.
I do think, though, I think when it's the FA Cup, I think we take it a little bit more seriously than we do the Subway Cup.
Oh, yeah, certainly.
So that will go in our favour. But again, I mean, we're a month away from it, really, aren't we? And a lot can happen in a month with both teams, injuries, signings, and loads of things can change. I think we should be winning it. We should be positive about winning it. Given the current state of the league and where West Ham are sitting in it. But I think we just lack a bit of confidence up front, and that's where I feel we could do all the work and stop put defensive display in and just not get a goal, and then they bloody well sodding nick it.
I suppose, as Doug said, we either wanted Chatham or Chelsea, didn't we?
Well, I like playing the little teams, not because I think we'll thrash them and we'll win, but just because I think that's the magic of the FA Cup.
I know what you mean.
The little teams, that's their payday. They get to come and play a WSL 1 team, and they get to play in a bigger stadium potentially. They get to play with more fans. I think that's the magic of it, and you've got the chance to, on your day, you can knock them out.
I feel quite sorry for Chatham because they got through to the 4th round and they got drawn against York City. But then they beat York City and now they've got Birmingham. I mean, Birmingham. They wanted Chelsea or Man United, didn't they?
These are winnable games, and a smaller club is guaranteed to go through. So I like the fact that who was it? Chelsea got Man United and Liverpool,
I like that.
Everton and Spurs got LCL. That's 3 WS1 teams out.
Yeah,
that's great for the cup moving forward. For eventually Chelsea go out, and
And that's what we spoke about with the Subway Cup, is that it basically feels like a somewhat of a fix, whereas the FA Cup, in theory, it hasn't always worked out that way, but in theory, some of the big teams should knock each other out. And you've only got to go on a good. I mean, you're going to have to beat someone good at some point, right? You can't win the FA Cup without beating anybody, but you might only have to face one of the top 4 teams in the final or the semi-final, which makes it a hell of a lot more possible to win than playing one of them in the quarterfinals of the Subway Cup. So
you'd have to beat 3 of them, wouldn't you? We've decided that you'd have to beat 3 of them to get to win the Subway Cup.
More often than not,
whereas you might only get drawn against 1. But
I think
you
might have to play a Spurs or something, but then the final would be again, so you feel like even if you've got like an Aston Villa or Spurs, you're gonna get them at the right point, whereas obviously, like you say, with the Subway Cup, it's like if you are unfortunate enough to get one of the top 4 teams, which most teams will do, even if you escape that, blooming well when it comes to the semi-final you're going to play
another one
in the final. So there we go.
But I mean West Ham, as you say, I mean it's not a banana skin because they're a bigger club than it being a banana skin, but it is losable, but we should beat them.
But we should.
I mean, it would have been nice to get them at home. That's the only thing, really.
That's a bit frustrating. Because we all like a home cup game, not as far to travel, nice cheap ticket. So. But there we go. Well, we've broken past 10 p.m, so I suppose we should wrap up this first portion of the podcast. We have plenty to talk about in part 2, including the loan report and a preview of the game on Friday night against Everton. Hopefully, you guys will all be tuning in for that, because that one definitely is on TV. Or better flaming will be if they moved it to a Friday night at 7 o'clock. Or I'll be having words. I'll be having words. So yeah, if you're just tuning into the YouTube portion, then we'd appreciate head over to SheGulls.com and check out all the good stuff on there, and obviously all our sort of social media handles in general are at SheGulls. But yeah, otherwise we will see you, or well, we won't see you, but we'll hear you. Won't hear you either, actually.
You'll hear us.
Yes.
You'll hear us.
You'll hear
in
us.
part 2 coming up later this week. So,
So
thank you, everybody. Good night. We're out of here.
Bye bye. Is Joe awake again? No.